Today's September 5th, 2025, and I go by the moniker Smarticris. And my Nigerian doctor, I'm just trying to show the date here. So there you can see it's Friday, the September 5th, 2025. So I go by the moniker Smarticris, and my doctor's name is Chinidu, and then S. Ogbonna, and he's from Nigeria. So I'm pretty sure the S stands for stupido, because I got him on film, like in testimony, saying that psychiatry is an exact science, and that he's better at diagnosing diabetes than a medical doctor. Right. So I'm just going to show you some of the highlights of the Nigerian economy, why he emigrated to Canada. So let's see the haymaker for Nigeria. So this could go hand in hand with, because I've been hospitalized now for 4 months in Canada based on hearsay and a lie. So you can see, okay, Nigeria's unemployment rate with a 2025 outlook of a 33.3%. So that means 1 in 3 Nigerians are unemployed, up from 30.23% in 2024. So that's Nigeria. So now here's some of the haymakers for Canada. So Canada, so I've been hospitalized. So they had 66,000 jobs lost in August 2025. And then down here you can see that in May they only had 3,400 jobs created, and then in June they had 21,200 jobs created. But then in July they had 41,000 jobs lost. So let's do the math. Let's see right here. That was 21,200. So where's my calculator? 66,000 plus 41,000 minus 21,200 minus 3,400. So since I've been hospitalized, they've lost 82,400 jobs. And this is only going to continue. You know what Canada did? Because they're not that smart. You know what they did? Today they announced, I'll just show you here, that they announced that there's $5 billion in funding. So let's see, I'll just show you, because everything I do, I try to get facts. Did Canada create a $5 billion fund? Carney unveils billions in fund and buys Canada policy to combat. So you can see here it says a $5 billion fund. This new $5 billion fund was created. You know what that means? They printed more money. They printed $5 billion. Like this. I'm getting. So is that the Nigerians? I just gotta turn on the lights. It's a little dark in here because I can't see the wrinkles under my eyes that I'll show you at the end of this video that I didn't have as of July 13th, 2025. And so I was just interrupted there. So one thing, so let's see the wrinkles here. So I'm trying to disconnect people. So anyways, I'll show you later on the video how I didn't have wrinkles in my eyes as of July 13th, 2025. So I'm going to tune in Dr. Ogbonna and watch the wrinkles get worse. This is Dr. Ogbonna. And so now I look black, and then I'm going to disconnect some other people that use brain computer interface who could control their facial muscles just like that. And it's muscles, not muscles, muscles. So anyways, so you know what Carney did today? Because he's not that smart, but he printed $5 billion more dollars. Like, they printed money, right? So people would think like, well, you know, they printed money, what's the big deal, right? Well, Smarticris knows that when you print more money, you actually deflate your economy. It causes inflation. Well, you inflate your economy, but you deflate the value of your money. Because like, why else would countries stop printing money? They print money around the clock. They would just constantly print money, like trillions upon trillions of dollars a day. If they kept on printing money, the more the value would go up, right? The value goes down, right? If you have say $10 billion, and then you print $5 billion more, you now have $15 billion in circulation. So that means now, instead of your dollar being worth $1, it's now worth 66.6% because you printed an extra third of money. So it goes down in value, right? So these idiots, they didn't do anything like, they're putting, like, giving people like some training for jobs. Like that's kind of all right, but not really. Like, really what they should have did, like, once again, this is me getting wrinkled on film, and this is not supposed to happen because I didn't move. So watch this. When I did, like, there's a thing called brain-computer interface where somebody's brain can control another human body. So watch what happens when I disconnect the people. See how the wrinkles got lessened? That's human hijackers. So now they're trying to pretend to be me in these roles because I'm Christian Eric Arnie Meyer. I'm Smarter Chris. Right? There was the Spartacus, right? Like the Thracian god in the movie 300, Spartacus, and then there's Smarter Chris. So that was a human hijacker. I was touching my vocal cords right here. So I'll just show you that. That's what they look like there in the subliminal system. So they didn't like that. So once again, I got wrinkles on film, and then watch my wrinkles disappear because I'm going to turn off these human hijackers because people take medication to kill parasites all the time. So I'm gonna try. What's that noise they have going on in their head? That noise that was going on in their head was their heartbeat. So I had them stop it by themselves. Right? That's what Spartacus does. Right? That's called self-preservation and perceived force, as they try to kill me by getting those wrinkles in my eyes. They're trying to kill me with cadavers. Like, you can see my hand here. Like, so you can see how my fingers are a different color than the rest of my hand. That's because they have cadavers connected to me through chemical electrolysis. Because of how talented I am, they steal my intellectual property and my attributes. It's called DNA. I'll just show you this first of all. It's called DNA transfer between organisms. So if you ask the internet things and you phrase it correctly, you could get the truth out of the internet. You can't just be like, okay, well, can they just steal attributes off people? The internet's going to say no. But if you ask it like in a scientific question, like, hey internet, hey Google, is DNA transfer possible between organisms? The internet's going to be like, yeah, sure it is. DNA transfer is possible between organisms. So I gotta find it here. I'm looking for the screenshot. So before I do that, this is so right here, this is how smart I am. Yes, it's theoretically possible for electromagnetic waves to be used to transmit information using nanotechnology, biomolecular communication devices within the brain, which could then stimulate the visual primary cortex to create visual perceptions. These concepts involve using nanotechnology to interface with the nervous system, potentially restoring or enhancing vision for individuals with visual impairments. So basically, I solve blindness with technology. And the hospital is saying that I have done a grandiose, and that means that I think I'm more important than what I should be. But so if I theoretically cure blindness, and I'll just show you here, this is my back muscle. You can see right here how there's a V. This is my son's back muscle. You can see how it's noticeably different than mine, and his is noticeably different than every other man on the planet. So technically, there's 3 different male species of human on the planet. Because I'm generation 2, my son would be generation 1.5, and everybody else is generation 1. So that means, and there's 2 different female species because I have a daughter as well. So excuse me. So this is computational medicine. So I'm just looking for, here we go, this should be right here. Yes, DNA transfer could allow organisms to share certain attributes. It's called horizontal gene transfer. Bacteria and other organisms can acquire new genes from another organism, potentially leading to acquisition of new traits and characteristics. So basically what they do is they justify raping my human experience and stealing attributes off me. Okay, so that's good. Normally when I get the text message through a video, it's my son. and they try to proliferate his numbers, so I have to delete it. But anyways, there's my name right here, Christian Eric Arnie Meyer. I was born October 20th, 1977, and you can see how there's no numbers in those columns there. There's two numbers missing, and I'm the only human on the planet that doesn't have numbers in those columns. And this particular sequence here, like the FGA and the VWA, and the TPOX is 1, and then VWA is 2, FGA is 3, and then D8, S1179, and those particular sequences there show that that I'm biologically immortal, basically, and that I should be ripped, I should be shredded. I have an 8-pack, not a 6-pack. I have different muscles. So before, once again, I was born in 1977. So in 1976, Canada was 27th in the world in the Olympics. And then they didn't participate in 1980. They participated in 1984. Then they went to 6th place because of my biology. And with when I said biology, you notice how I said it. I sounded differently than when I said biology. Wow, they hacked me several times there. When I said biology this time, I sounded different than the previous 3 times. Biology. Right, so here's the people pretending to be me, and it's my roommate at the Surrey Hospital right now. But anyways, so it'd be biology. So Stephanie Meyer wrote a book about parasitic aliens. So anybody that pretends to be Christian Eric Arnie Meyer could, they have cadavers connected to me. So watch what happens when I connect cadavers to them. Watch it. They didn't like that. That's how fast they disconnected, right? So I have cadavers connected to me. Watch cadavers connected to me. I don't even really notice it, right? They did it my entire life. But these imposters, once again, see how shocked they are? They try to disconnect, so they can't pretend that they have the same biology as Christian Eric Arnie Meyer. They would die within minutes, right? So fuck their feelings. So anyway, Stephanie Meyer, the same spelling as my last name, wrote a book about parasitic aliens, called The Host, invading the dominant species. So I, Christian Eric Arnie Meyer, am the dominant species on Earth because of my brain is basically like a digital brain, and my brain's a digital brain, and your brain would be analog. I refer to God my entire life, but if I wanted to change it and start referring to God as a deity or a higher power, I could do so immediately, and I'll never reference God ever again if I wanted to. So I could rewire my brain and my past historic behavior really, really easily. Like, I've been hospitalized now for 4 months to the day, and I haven't thought about smoking less than 10 times, and they caused me to think about it every single time, even day 1. I don't have any withdrawals from smoking. I don't have withdrawals. Like, I get over things really easily. Once again, you can hear my vocal change, and they're pretending I have generation 1 biology, so doing cadaver tests to all those perpetrators right there. Watch this. They didn't like that. So now this is why I have self-preservation, right? Because they're making me suck. Like, I would be equivalent to the water, and they're a sponge, right? They're stealing attributes off me, right? So a sponge is pretty much useless without water, but water functions perfectly fine without a sponge, doesn't it? Right, so these human terrorists and parasites, and people take medication, they kill parasites all the time. So here's I'm gonna look drunk right now. So I just took medication, and then watch, this is what's gonna happen to those parasites. All right, they're not doing too well. So now I'm necrotizing their brain. Right, that's how I save myself. So anyways, back to helping the Canadian out of recession, right? But people want some acclaim for my type of thinking, and what they do is they're generational pedophiles, and they use this to rape and recruit people and violate kids and animals. So anyway, they cause everything evil on the planet. Like, they're narco-terrorists, everything wrong on the planet. They manufacture disease. These parasites, they edit chromosomes out of people to give them Down syndrome. Like, you don't see Down syndrome in the animal kingdom. Like, there's such a high likelihood of humans surviving to be adults that we typically only have 1 baby at a time, a woman would. Right, and where twins or multiple births are very infrequently. That means that there's such a guarantee that you would survive to be an adult, that Mother Nature and evolution is saying, like, hey, you only need 1 crack at the whip. But with dogs or cats or other animals, they have litters, because there's such an unlikelihood that they'll survive to be adults, that they die. So there should be a higher malignancy and disease in these animals than there are in people, but that's not the case, because these human predators, they manufacture disease. So anyways, with the Canadian recession, that we're about to go into here, I'll show you that we're entering the recession in 2025, and I predicted this in May 2025. That's why I record my videos here, to kind of show that I can predict the future, basically. Is Canada in a recession? Is Canada entering a recession in 2025? There's disagreement among economists and organizations, but many forecasts point to a period of weak growth, potentially including a mild recession. I would say 80,000 job losses, 2,000 job losses in over a 4-month period I'd say that's a recession myself. And the fact that, let's see the rate of 2025, then Smarter Chris will give you strategies on how to get out of recession. What is the rate of inflation in 2025 compared to historical points? So 1.7% increase. That's a 12-month change, and then food was 3.4%. That's where you notice it the most. So let's see here's the historic consumer price index. So let's see what it is. So let's just assume that it averages 1.7 per month. So that would be 10 times that would be 17% per year plus another 3.4, so that'd be 20.4% per year on average. That's 17 or 1.7 times 12. So let's see. Okay, that's March to July. So, okay, so unfortunately it's not telling me 2024. I'm not able to see 2024. So 20% per year, right? Like just think like a car. Like, so that means like if a computer cost $500 last year, it would now cost $600 this year, right? So it appears that inflation is happening quite substantially in 2025. So basically with the $5 billion, like what they should have did was try to, I'll just show you how much they spent $71 billion last year. And a lot of it secretly was spent on me to track my whereabouts. So how much did the government spend in 2024 on, let's see, there's $71 billion was $71 billion. I forget the exact metric, but there was the Canadian government that amount was for salaries and personnel costs, not total spending, from total projected. Okay, so they spent $449 billion. Okay, so they spent even more. So they only had a $2.2 trillion economy. So that's almost 25, like say 22, well, 4 divided by 22. So that's a little over, not quite 6. So that's 1.5. So let's see what that is. So 22 divided by 4. 22 divided by 4. Okay, let's do that way. 4.49 divided by 22. So 20%. So every $5 that Canada made, the government wasted $1. Right. So anyways, out of that, they created $5 billion. So they printed $5 billion more currency, right? So they could have had savings. They could have saved $5 billion by like eliminating certain programs, and they could have privatized certain elements of the economy to that are better ran by private companies, because companies, if you compete, like competition is good for an economy. That's why democracies win over communist countries, because with the democracy you compete. So it's survival of the fittest, right? They have to remain competitive, so they have to innovate, they have to shape they have to reduce costs, and they have to get a profit margin, right? So if the government capped certain industries, like the profit margin for industries, and then to enable innovation and whatnot, and then so there'd be tax rebates for citizenry, then it'd be better utilized in the taxpayers' dollars, right? Certain industries like utilities should be private, not private. They should be public because and with as much like to maintain security, and like certain food sectors should be public once again to maintain the like say truck and food and utilities should all be publicly ran, because with a cap on it, and sacrificing other elements of the economy to make those elements cheap for people, so we get cheap meat, like good quality meat, but at a cheaper price at price point. And so the trucking industry, so truckers can't strike and then just saboteur or handicap the entire economy and hold the government by the balls, basically, by going on strike, right? So if it's publicly ran, like if the government runs it and maintains it, and it's a government business, then the trucks never stop coming. They'll never stop coming. And then certain, like say beef and chicken and like say core foods should be governmentally ran, and then any specialty foods, like basically you get a full chicken, it would be cheap. But then if you want boneless skinless chicken breast, then there would be a markup from that in the private sector, right? So Canadians would be able to eat healthy, and to be able to have it economically affordable, because so many Canadians, they spend a lot of money on transportation and energy costs, right? Let's just see what that is, energy costs. Because I am smart enough. I did come up with this thing called wind hydrogen power. So basically, you could take the water out of the air and then turn that into hydrogen power, and so you could power vehicles and housing off this. What is the average? So I kind of gave them the answer, but I could do it better than them. So what is the average energy expenditure for Canadians in 2025. So every typo, once again, I have evolved biology. I wouldn't make typos. You never see a pigeon smash its beak off the ground. This is how attribute thieves, they could make me make typos so they could justify stealing my human experience and stealing my intellectual property and money. So the Canadians are estimated to range between $150 and $250, depending on the size of the home and location. So that is still pretty expensive, right? So just think, like, the average person might make $200 a month or per day. The average person might make $200 per day pre-taxes, like before taxes. So that means they have to work 1 day a month just to heat their house, and that's heating, that's energy. So that doesn't even count for water. Right, so it's probably another $200. So 2 days a month, like they only work 20 days a month, right? So 2 days are just for energy costs, like energy and water, like that's atrocious, right? With the wind hydrogen power, like just think air is unlimited energy. Everybody's like, online, they're like, oh, we got oil, we got nuclear energy, we got this. We have an atmosphere, dumbass. So that means we have unlimited air for the rest of human existence on Earth, where we can power and energize our cars and in our homes, and it makes it invasion proof. Because like if you're to invade a country, the first thing they do is take out the power grid, and then basically capitulates the citizenry, because the citizens are like, well, like if, like for instance, like in December, if all of a sudden another country came to Canada, they took out the power grid, and they said like near the capital, like near Ottawa, they took out the power grid, and well, they took out the power grid for all of Ontario or whatever, and then the airport in Ottawa, they went to the international airport, like the special forces, they take over the airport, then they storm the parliament, and then they can basically just say, hey, Canadians, do you want your power to be on during the winter? Come to our side, right? And then a lot of people get capitulated that way. right? But with wind, hydrogen power, there's always air, right? So every building would be its own power supply and could have its own internet node. So once again, people are pretending to be me. Every time my voice changes like this is people playing these roles. Like that's what they look like, the imposters. I have generation 2 biology, so whenever my voice changes, I want the system to do a pectoral test. Like you can see, so most guys are pectorals there, but you can see mine goes all the way up here because I have generation 2 biology. So I can do that at any point in time. So once again, with the wind hydrogen power, they would be able to power buildings, and then so the power grid doesn't go out, so the Canadian society wouldn't capitulate. So I came up with this idea like almost 2 years ago now, and they haven't did anything about it. They could have been retrofitting buildings for the last year and a half instead of wasting money on me and developing technology to make me smell and all this other stuff, like to make my mucus. I don't have any mucus in my nose right now, but if I blew my nose, I have clear mucus with specks of green mucus, which is usually the roommate or somebody in the hospital, or sometimes it's animals. So anyways, so what the Canadians should have did was try to save the $5 billion. And then by like government savings, like cutting programs and wastage and what have you. And then getting a lot of volunteers to do a lot of things. Like there's so many like patriots in Canada that they could probably save $5 billion easily by asking people to do things, or making people on social assistance to do these things for them, like to mitigate the cost, right? Like whatever it's making license plates or whatever, right? Like these services that, these government services, they could save money. They can find ways to save money, lots of money. Like $100 billion could easily be saved in many different ways. So what they should have did was like to allocate some of this money to creating jobs, giving people an opportunity to start businesses, because they're going to employ people. So what they did with the $5 billion is like, oh, we're going to be doing some job training. We're going to pay for people to go back to school. And how often I get aged on film, they don't like me being known as Smarter Chris is super smart. So get in Stupido and Company. Right, so that's how wrinkles disappear on film. So once again, they don't want people to, like, if you go to school and you have to get retrained, then you need somebody to employ you. Whereas if they would have created an opportunity where people are able to get business loans and create more jobs for people, then that gets you out of a recession for faster, dumbass. Right, and so another strategy is to lower the interest rate, because if they lower the interest rate, the people are more likely to get a loan, and then they reinvest in the economy, right? You don't want to save during a recession. Like right now during a recession, especially during inflation, you don't want to save during an inflation, because you kind of prolong the agony. Like if you save during a recession, it's almost like if you have a Band-Aid and you try to pull it off really, really slow, it hurts for longer, doesn't it? Than if you just rip it right off. It hurts more, but the pain goes way faster. Right. So basically what that means is the government of Canada needs to encourage people to spend their money, because your purchasing power goes down. Like with inflation, like it's going up basically 20% this year. So that means if you have $100,000, if you have it would take $600,000 to equal in 2026, it's going to take $600,000 to equal $500,000 in 2025. Right, so your money's going down in value. So you might as well have something to show for it. So you make big ticket, like if you have money in your savings account, go out and buy a couch set, go out and buy a bed, go buy some furniture like that. Like you're gonna have over for a long period of time, right? You can go buy fast food and things like that. Do support those industries as well, but at the same time, like have something that you're gonna be able to show for it over a period of time, right? So you have actual true value of your purchasing power, right? So like buying a new car, buying a house. And because it's a buyer's market now, so you're gonna have an advantage, right? Because inflation's going up, but there's not as many people in the market, so that means it's a buyer's market. So you're gonna be able to negotiate a price. So they might list it at a certain price, but there's gonna be less interest, so you're gonna be able to talk them down, right? So there's many strategies, right? So really, what the Canadians could do is they can have people at schools, like say they can have them do a study. In part of post-secondary education, what's the most efficient ways to get out of recession? And then they can look at all the other countries on the planet, have these students using their brain power and then doing the research for them for free, right? There's ways to utilize, to squeeze as much juice out of an orange, right? Or to shear a sheep rather than skin a sheep, right? Because what they're doing now is they're skinning the sheep because they're printing more money rather than encouraging opportunities to make more money. Anyways, you heard this first from Smarter Chris.